Hey, everybody. I'm Chris Metzler, one of the programmers here for the Green Film Festival San Francisco. As you might have gotten familiar with kind of some of our catalog and watching some of our films, we kind of choose some of the most unusual, irreverent, and just kind of interesting films about the environment, the world we live in, and adventure films from around the world. We're lucky enough to have the filmmaker for the really cool doc you just saw, The Wintering Grounds. Welcome, director and cinematographer Jeff Springer.
Hey, thanks. Good to be
Hey
here.
there. Thanks for joining us. Um, you know, Maybe a good place to start is, often people wonder, how do you get an idea for a documentary? So how did you kind of run across the story and decide that you wanted to follow these dirt bags at the river?
Yeah, actually, so I was it's funny. That's how film festivals bring us together and bring us to new places. Is was screening the film Rodents of Unusual Size in Columbus, Georgia, and the theater where it was screening was right next to the river. So you could literally look out and it was like rafts going by, and it was a really quick trip. So I didn't really get to, it was just kind of this oddity, like, oh, suddenly there's this river right there. And so, but later on, I heard more and more about this scene of what was going on there and how this industrial town had really really changed a lot in the last 10 years from a mill town into this like recreation paradise for kayakers and whitewater rafting. So it was because of the film festival that I was able to, learn about the story.
And, as you kind of started to figure out who you wanted to kind of interview, I mean, were you just kind of interviewing everybody that was kind of, hanging out at the parking lot, or how did you kind of develop these relationships?
Well, I first went down in December, which is when there was only like one person, who's Stephen Wright, who's kind of like the main, mayor of the Wintering Grounds, let's say. And so he was there by himself with his girlfriend Rachel, and so I just like went and got to know him, and he kind of took me around, and I just got a briefing of, first of all, like what freestyle kayaking is. Like I had no idea, like, okay, what is this, and what the situation is. So there was a lot to learn, and there's a lot of lingo. All the tricks have different names, and the places and stuff. And so it was a lot to like get up to speed on like what this little subculture was about. But I did an interview with him, which is like one of the main interviews from the film, and it's like before anyone's there, but also anticipating that these people would come. So and then I went back down in February, which is after a lot of the kayakers had arrived. So then, and it was also, I was able to capture this totally empty lot with just his van there. And then coming back in February, it was like a totally different scene. It was just like all these people there. So to be able to get that contrast, I think was really important. But it also enabled me to kind of like learn about the scene a bit, and also through Stephen, but through other people, was given names of like, these are the people that are coming and this is their story. And like I would reach out to them, generally through Facebook and stuff, and try to like get to know them before they were there, which didn't work so well, but it was more like needed that in person. So I basically just like camped there. So they had a someone with a trailer that I was able to use. It was kind of like a spare one. So I had like my whole like production office, and I could sleep there, and I could wake up, when they woke up. And so it was a lot about like living their lifestyle in terms of like they wake up in the morning and they just don't know what's going to happen that day. They look at their phones. The water levels are depending on where the water level is depending on what feature in the rivers is going off. So it's all dependent on water. And so like, I would just like kind of like hang out and wait for them to like, all right, this is where we're going for today. And so I would generally try to do an interview in that morning time when nothing was happening. So get one interview done, and then kind of just like see where things took me. So because every day is kind of different for them. So it's like kind of going with the rhythm of what their lives is like.
Did they welcome you into their community pretty easily, or did it take a while to kind of develop that trust at all?
I think it took some time at first. I mean, first I think people would just like suddenly there's this. I think I tried, and like I think the first day like I was like, oh, I got to start getting stuff in it, and I realized that like, okay, I needed a little more time to kind of to build up that trust and just kind of hang around the campfire and just get people to, and the fact that you're there and living with them and you go into your own trailer at night, I think really helped a lot. Or you use the same shower inside the kayak shop. So it's like, I think that helped a lot. And then over time, I just really built like amazing friendships with all of them. So, yeah, but I think it did take a little time, but I think they're also like very open to being documented. I mean, one of the things about them is that social media is like a huge part of their community. So they're always like posting new kayak spots, and they're always like traveling, but they're all like connected on social media, so they kind of know where the spots are and stuff. So I think they have no problem with like a camera being around. So that made things easy.
Do you, for somebody that wasn't so familiar with the sport early on, like what was the thing that made you like, hey, this is a story that you wanted to make, and like in spending time with these people, like what was most kind of inspirational that you found in the way that they kind of live life?
I think it's just their lifestyle. I mean, I knew nothing about the sport, and I think the sport's fun to watch, but it's really like that was for me more like visual interludes for like really getting to who these people were and why they choose the lifestyle that they do. Because I mean, even most of these people are like world champions. A lot of them are really the top of the sport, but they don't make much money doing this. It's like it's really the passion for the sport and the lifestyle. And it's even if they're sponsored, it's maybe they get some free equipment, but and so I really and I like that they had this kind of nomadic lifestyle and the willingness to kind of squat in a parking lot to kind of do what they wanted to do and to be together. So there's this some of the people, like there's one family, they live down the street, but they choose to be in their RV at the lot because it's just it's that. And I experienced that myself, like waking up and just not knowing what was going to happen, but that community was just so strong that I could really see and sympathize with what their lifestyle was about. So, but and also just for me, like I grew up like windsurfing and sailing, and there's something about the smell of like wet neoprene, like there's something like I could relate to with drying their stuff off at the end of the day. So it's like it's not a sport that I had ever done or really knew much about, but I could relate to in that way.
That's cool. Well, both being the director and also kind of filming a lot of the documentary, like what was your kind of aesthetic approach to kind of capturing these stories, and were there any particular challenges? I mean, given that you have all these folks out on kayaks on the river.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think it was really easy to capture, the day-to-day lifestyle, just because conveniently everyone was sleeping and living in this one place. So, and I was there too. So that was that. And then also, like when they are on the river, like the wave is not moving. So you can literally be on land and the wave stays in the same place. So unlike there's a lot of kayaking, which is more like adventure kayaking, where they're running rivers, they would say. So you're starting at the source and going down the river. So that's like you would need to be a kayaker, because there's some you couldn't even use a boat because there's just places that you would need to be able to kayak. But this, however, like I could just be on land close to them. And the thing about Columbus and Phoenix City is just there's a lot of these spots are just really close to land. So I could just be there handheld or with the tripod and really capture a lot of it from right there. But it depends on the spot. Like the main spot, what they call Good Wave, is where it's like supposed to be one of the best in the world, is like really close to land. And there's spectator, people every day. There's people out there kind of watching them and stuff. So that made things really easy, but it's also limited in the sense. So I think having a drone was a huge tool that was super helpful, because you could fly the drone out and literally be like right over them or get other angles so you're not just always from that one perspective. And then when the river was at a certain level, that there was these spots that are way out in the river that are hard to get to, you wouldn't be limited to a really long lens. You could actually like get out there with them with the drone and stuff. So that was like an invaluable tool. And so it was usually me, and then a guy that helped me shoot it, Joseph, who is from that area, and he's also a kayaker, so he also had a lot of tips on like, okay, how to capture this, and kind of could anticipate, a lot of things that they might do, especially in the beginning when I didn't know, how to do it. And so, but it was also, we could work in tandem in the sense that when he was with me, like, we're getting different angles, or we're shooting two cameras or a drone and a camera. So because I mean, it's like there's the getting the tricks and the visual candy, but it's also like when they come in, to talk, you can talk to them, and so you can also like interact to them when they come. Some depends on the spot, but sometimes they come out to get back up to river to get into the spot again. So that's like an opportunity to kind of have human interaction with people. So and sometimes the other spots are just out there and you can't do that. But so it was, trying to get both of those aspects was, I thought was important.
That's cool. Well, since kind of finishing up the film, the folks in the film, saw it, and what did they think? And then also, like, is there kind of epilogue, like what's happened with them and their kind of most recent competitions?
Well, because of the pandemic, I had the film was kind of in limbo for a long time, and then finally they started competing again. So I kind of could get like an ending of that, some kind of conclusive ending. And so, I finished up the film that way last year at the World Cups, which is basically the way this world works is they will do a World Cup one year, and then the next year they'll do the World Championships at the same exact spot. And World Cups is kind of like they're getting ready. So maybe not all the world comes there, but most of the people come. So I was able to capture that. And actually this weekend is the World Championship. So
wow.
as we probably watch this, they're actually competing this weekend. So hopefully we'll see how I'm following them closely. I'm not able to go, but I'm following them closely on social media. And a lot of our characters are doing really well, especially Mason, who I feature prominently in the film. He's really like vying for like the top spot in the world in the senior men's now. So he's just doing amazing. And then his also younger sister is doing, amazing too in the junior category. So it's really fun to kind of, I feel like I've grown up with, seeing them grown up over the course of the film. We started in 2019, and Mason was like, more of a teenager. Now he's a man, you know what I mean? So it's really fun to see kind of both of them, and just like I see, footage I saw in the last few days, like their kayaking is just like, because I study it so often in the footage, I'm just like, wow, they just like keep getting better and better. So yeah, it's just really cool to root for them and see and they're such humble people. Like, everyone that I've met there are just really like, they can be a world champion and also be just really humble about it. So, so it's really exciting to kind of see what happens next.
And I assume a lot of people are probably wondering is like, did you ever go and get yourself on the river and give it a try yourself?
Yeah, actually, I would go down in the winter time, so it was really cold. So they're all wearing like these, like suits that are, for cold water. But I went down there for the film festival again in the summertime, and then the water is really warm. It's like, it's Georgia in the summertime. It's hot. And so then I was given the opportunity to go whitewater rafting a few times from the whitewater rafting company there that sponsors a lot of things. And then finally, everyone kept saying like, you can't make this film without like experiencing this. Like, but I would always just like have too much to do, or always like following them around. So it was always like seemed impossible to do. But then finally, going down there in the summertime, I could like, wasn't focusing on the filming. And so actually Melissa Hargrove, Mason's mom, who is, helps a lot of veterans in the area get into kayaking and stuff. So she took me out. And so, yeah, I was able to experience that. And then I also Mason, they have a dual kayak so that two people can fit in there. So, you know, with a junior world champion, he took me into the waves, and it was quite an experience. So we just went straight into good wave, and it was yeah, pretty fun. But yeah, so I was able to experience that, and that was pretty informative because you realize like, okay, how tricky it really is. You know, and you know what happens when your kayak goes over and you fill up with water and you have to get over to the side to empty out the kayak. So yeah.
Well, as we kind of wrap things up, you kind of alluded to this idea of how much social media plays a role, in these kayakers' lives, but then also, as filmmakers, I always kind of remind our audience that, we're lucky enough that filmmakers like you get a chance to kind of share their films earlier in their life with us at film festivals. And so if we like a film, our role as an audience is to kind of go out there and kind of spread the word far and wide. What are ways to kind of follow the film, but also if there are kayak, subjects in the film that people want to follow and kind of see what they're up to, what's the best way to do that?
Well, definitely. I mean, Instagram is definitely a big one. So that we're at the Wintering Grounds on Instagram, also on Facebook. But I mean, on that, a lot of these kayakers interact with us quite a bit. So, there's always like ways to follow. Like if you want to follow Mason or his family, like it's very easy to find them through our social media. So it's always kind of fun to follow some of these people. I mean, I do it religiously, but because there's different races, there's different events. Where are they now? So it's always kind of fun to see to follow some of these people, but especially like Mason and his family, and then Stephen Wright, who's now making kayaks in Columbus, Georgia, as well as the Holcomb family, Abby and Peter and Kathy. Like and actually like Peter Holcomb, who's featured in his daughter Abby in the film, they're quite prominent from Colorado. They're actually driving from Alaska to South America right now. So,
oh wow,
it's fun to follow. And Peter's a great photographer. His daughter Abby is, she's doing her own thing now. So yeah, it's great stuff to see on social media. So, we post our stuff, but they're always like have some interesting stuff to watch. So.
Well, very cool. Well, thanks again, Jeff Springer, and sharing this wonderful film, The Wintering Grounds, with us.
Thanks for